This could be the first supercycle that Bitcoin has ever seen. And in this video, I'm going to articulate and reason to you as to why this might be the case. First thing is first, let's talk about what happened today. Bitcoin has rallied up to over $9,000, and we're actually close to ending the first month of 2020. And if we close anywhere around here, we're going to be ending the first month of 2020 rather strongly. And in this video, I want to talk about what this bullish price action so early in the year means to us as Bitcoin hodlers. If you can even hodl. I see some of you wanting to sell already. Anyways, we're going to start off by referencing the short-term time frame, talk about what happened in the past 48 hours, and then, because this is actually what I prefer, let's talk about the big picture. And as I said before, and really think about what this means, this could be the first supercycle that Bitcoin has ever experienced. And I hope you understand why, right? I'm going to articulate it for you, but this cycle is different from every other cycle Bitcoin has ever had. And you better stake your claim because of the asymmetrical upside potential. But anyways, if you like the idea that Bitcoin is in a super cycle, and it might not be, but if you like that idea, and if you want to get that information out there to as many people as possible, like the video, post this video to Facebook or Twitter, preface this, this is what I like about this video, or this is what I don't agree with, and let's get everybody involved. Let's get everybody involved in the discussion. Is this a super cycle? Anyways, without further ado, let's jump right in. So short-term speaking, within the past 5 days, Bitcoin has surprised a lot of people. We've climbed up over 10%, and we actually broke some major resistance, and even breaking the psychological barrier of $9,000. Pretty big deal, in my opinion, and it is a psychological barrier. Now, eventually, I'm never going to be able to play this meme for you ever again. But until that day comes, please enjoy this quality crypto meme.
Vegeta, what does the scouter say about his power level? It's over 9,000! What, 9,000? There's no way that can be right!
Yes, I love it. I'm glad cryptocurrency has a meme culture. Stuff like this spurs adoption. You don't see that in traditional finance. But anyways, getting back to the story here, although we did break some significant resistance, we still have more resistance to break and overcome. It's still a long road to $20,000, obviously. Now, what is significant is the fact that we have reclaimed the 200-day moving average, and then staying above this moving average would be very bullish. So let's just see how Bitcoin flirts with the 200-day moving average as we go forward. Now, I'm not a big TA guy, as you know. I'm more of a fundamentals guy. Now, fundamentals aren't good for indicating what's going to happen in the short term. For that, you need TA. Now, let's actually check in with some TA experts. This is before we get to the supercycle part. Let's check in with some TA experts and see what they think about this recent rally for Bitcoin. Bob Loukas, the man, the myth, the legend, he tweeted this out just today. He says, "I would put the odds that Bitcoin's downtrend has ended at 90% now. Purely arbitrary on my behalf. However, if the downtrend for Bitcoin has ended, I'd expect Bitcoin to never, ever trade at these prices ever again." And I think what he means by this is that if the downtrend has ended, we'll no longer ever see a $6,000 Bitcoin price, or maybe even a $7,000 Bitcoin price ever again, which is what Bitcoin tested in the past few months. Or how about this? Carl the Moon, TA expert, he tweeted this out. Well, actually, this is more of a fundamental. 12.6 million Bitcoin have not moved in over 1 year. This is mind-blowing, given that these hodlers saw Bitcoin go from 3.5K to almost 14K and then back down again, unshaken. And the fact that more and more people continue to hold is mind-blowing, in my opinion. And that actually brings me to what I feel is the most important part of today's video. Without further ado, this could be Bitcoin's first supercycle. And what I mean by that is this. Because this is the first cycle, actually it's the first where people aren't worried that Bitcoin's going to drop to zero, as in every other cycle, people were worried and unsure about Bitcoin's future. Because this is the first cycle where Bitcoin has now permanently penetrated the mainstream culture, it's talked about from everybody on the street to late night comedians, even the president of the United States has mentioned Bitcoin. Because this is the first cycle where people are realizing why Bitcoin has value and why Bitcoin is digital gold, and people are just comprehending what digital scarcity means, the fact that Bitcoin is the first digital scarce asset, and just thinking about that long-term potential. Censorship resistant, unprintable, unconfiscatable. Maybe this does have some value. Not to mention the fact that right now today, there has never been more on-ramps for Bitcoin. There has never been more infrastructure created around Bitcoin. You know this. We show you this kind of stuff every day on this channel. In every single other cycle, people retrospectively realized they could have been way richer if they had just held their Bitcoin, which is why, I say this is the first cycle where every single new user we get and every single hodler now, there's going to be at least a small portion of their stash that they never sell because everybody's afraid that this is going to happen to them. This cycle is different, not only because of all the macro factors that we've mentioned all the time on this channel, but because Bitcoin's awareness and Bitcoin's trust has never been higher. This stuff is only going to increase with time. The trust and awareness around Bitcoin is only going to increase with time. And as trust and awareness increase, people put 1% in, 2% in, the price just goes up. In theory. The point is this. The next cycle top that everybody's speculating on could actually go higher than everybody thinks because of the fact that everybody's hodling and everything I just mentioned. Anyways, that's it for me today, guys. I'm actually going to leave you with Dan Held talking about the supercycle. He articulates it even better than I could. This is a podcast clip. I'll leave a link to the whole thing in the description. I'll just play you a few minutes. Make sure you like the video, support the channel, subscribe if you're new here. I will see you tomorrow. This is Aaron.
Yeah, but you say 500 million users. How much users do we have now? Do we have an estimate?
I mean, the estimates are all over the place, but between 20 and 40 million, I think is a good one, unique users.
So it will actually take a long time, to be honest, huh?
A couple cycles. Now, I do think there might be a Bitcoin super cycle coming up, but that's a bit of a controversial take.
The halving or?
Yeah, so the halving, post-halvening, we've seen the last two bull markets happen post-halvening. So we're on the precipice of another one in around May 2020. But I think that the backdrop in which this halvening event is occurring, the macro backdrop, the backdrop of the world economy is much different than the other halvening events. We're at a moment where the President of the United States, Donald Trump, is tweeting at the Federal Reserve to print more money, which is crazy. So I think Bitcoin, if accepted by institutional traders as a risk-off trade or a safe haven asset, if that becomes the narrative in the year 2020, 2021, we might see Bitcoin not go through a normal market cycle. We might see it go through a super cycle. And this ties back to the user metrics because in a traditional cycle, Bitcoin 10x's and the number of users 10x and the number of transactions 10x. A lot of the, all these usage metrics around the protocol are based on these market boom and bust cycles. But in a super cycle, we might see it move from 20 to 40 million users to a billion versus 20 to 40 million users to 500 million.
Is the technical infrastructure made for a super cycle yet?
Yeah, you're talking like on-chain scaling.
Yeah, on-chain or off-chain. I mean, like Lightning or not, yeah.
That's a great question. In a store of value Gold 2.0 singular use case, I think it's more than ready. Now, in an everyday merchant payment, I don't think the user experience around Lightning is ready yet to onboard that many users. I do think the price elasticity of a transactor on layer 1 is quite high. So the worry is, okay, if we onboard 1 billion users into Bitcoin, using it to hodl and store value, will that make transaction fees go up? The answer is yes. There's a limited amount of block space and there's more demand for that block space, so people have to bid higher and higher. But if we look at what people are willing to pay to move other stores of value, I think we're going to be okay. Even if the fee is $10 or $50, people regularly spend, $20 to $80 in the United States to wire money. Physical gold delivery requires insurance, certain types of shipping methods. You've got, real estate transactions, which real estate is a $250 trillion store of value asset. And those closing costs for a real estate transaction are enormous, in the thousands of dollars. And then offshore banking, to set up an offshore bank account, thousands and thousands of dollars.
It sounds like you might think that the institutions will come in earlier than the regular people.
Well, Bitcoin has largely been a retail trade so far. But the institutional money could be the one that thrusts it into a supercycle. I think that's the difference here. And I think it's a mixture of both. I don't think it's singular just institutions. I think their capital flows will make it be a much bigger cycle than it was before. But I think that increasing price, as we've seen in other bull markets, which, I got to admit, in 2013, when I saw that bull market, that got me really, really into Bitcoin. These speculative bull runs bring about greater awareness to Bitcoin, which brings around greater users and people that want to, people come for the trading and stay for the sound money. And so I think if it's an institution-led sort of if you see institutional volumes really skyrocket, that price movement will draw in retail as well.